So you got a podcast, you got an episode, you got everything good going, but you only have one slight problem, and that is how do I market this thing? So if you're struggling, don't worry. We got you right here. Cue the intro. Hey folks, welcome back to Podmentorspace podcast. My name is Rajiv Doreswamy, and we are back on another episode. This time we are targeting marketing. Before I forget, if you like this episode and you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or if you're watching this on Spotify, click that follow button. And for those who just want to skip all the ramblings and all the whatnots, we got timestamps, so you can go ahead and go to whatever chapter you want to go and then be on your way. So yeah, so shall we, as always, refer to my blog because this is where the original source is. Of course, let's get down to marketing. First of all, let's understand. This is my subjective understanding of marketing. Basically, marketing is making sure that you get eyeballs, or in this case, podcasts, getting ears to listen to your podcast. So, of course, we should start with the very, very basic, which is, of course, know your platform. So you gotta know your platform. Of course, if you're looking for a guide, I have the link on my blog. There's a photo of and credits to, of course, this blog where I got it. They have all the information there, and you got strategies. You can build stuff here. There are content types. You can build strategies, and you also have the specific type of people who actually use these type of platforms. So first of all, that's simple enough. You gotta have an ability to know which platform you're attacking your content. Of course, you need to have a strategic plan. That is tip number 2. You have to have a strategic plan on how to get these people to engage with you in the first place. Of course, marketing, it requires a lot of work. Yes, there's some part of it that you have to be repetitive at what you do, which is, of course, we all know, advertising. But there's a tip to it in order for you to not feel so advertising with your content. One is you have to build a relationship with whoever it is that you're talking to. And in the beginning, of course, it's going to be tough. But then over time, once you've built developed that relationship with your said customer, client, or even listener, you would actually know that they have pain points which you can solve along the way, which can be content for yourself, and it can open up a huge vocabulary under your podcast, even though if you're a niche or a general topic. So you gotta have a strategy when you're attacking in any social media platform, even YouTube for that matter. So ideally, the three categories that I would probably go with if you're creating content and you're trying to market content is, of course, you have to have good reach, you have to have good impressions, and you have to have good engagement. So what are these three? Of course, we're going to start off with reach. Reach is if someone comes to your page, or page anywhere on social media. Of course, the number of reach is pertaining to the person who came in and saw your content and probably just saw the content. That's considered one reach. And of course, what is impression? Impression is how many times people have viewed your content as in a repetitive form. So there's a difference between reach and saying reach is having a specific person. So if you go to your analytics and you see your reach is lower than your impression, that means you've reached a particular person that happened to see the content. But when it comes to impressions, it's a repetitive thing, especially when you are looking at analytics. You notice that impressions is more. It's because the content has been distributed in such a way that people have seen it in different time zone, not even times. It's been repetitive. It's like an advertisement in itself, and this is organic. So, okay, what do I mean by organic? There are two types in marketing where it's a technique. One is an organic reach, an organic reach or an organic impression is when a person comes into your account or page and happens to just see it organically. It just came into the homepage, on their homepage, and then it's just there. But if you're using non-organic or paid, that is when you put money to said ads or whatever it is. Of course, the number of people, when you're targeting a specific ad, the number of people who see this, they actually see this through an advertisement. So you can see in the content, if you notice, there are certain, like Facebook, Reddit, or Twitter, there are certain things where they say it's sponsored. That is called paid ads. So of course, we're not going to dig deep into that, but that's just the basics of those. So now reach and impressions, you already know. Let's get into engagements. It's self-explanatory. How is the content engaging with someone? So a simple example of this is that if you go on Facebook or Twitter or any social media platform and just make this observation, you go to a page and then you see their content, and let's say they're talking about heartbreak. Let's say the podcast is all about heartbreak, and they have a photo of someone sharing a quote or something that they learned, a reflection. It's just a photo, and if you notice, they have like 25 shares and 26 likes and all that stuff. That is engagement. And if of course, comment section is the meaning of engagement alone. So they're engaging with that content because that's how they connect with the said photo. That is the definition of reach, impression, and engagement. So now let's get into the main strategies of how you get reach and how you get impressions and how you get engagement. So these three, they come into different content types. It's dependent on how you attack this. And when you create content types, you can go from macro to micro. So how to best explain this? A macro content is something like this: a long form podcast or a vlog or anything like a blog post like what I've written. Those are what we call macro content because it's so big that it requires some form of energy to consume. And a micro content is if you take the said podcast or blog or something like that and you convert the content into shorts or a photo or a carousel for that matter. That is called micro content. So there's no limits. It doesn't have to be exactly video, blog, or there's so many things that you can also mix it up a bit. So content types, I'm sure you've already understood. So how do you use these content types to your advantage? It's simple. First of all, you got to be relatable. Of course, you have to have knowledge, and you have to have a unique perspective because see, based on my last episode on The Undertaker, authenticity, we were talking about authenticity. Being unique kind of gives you that sense of authentic flavor to a subject matter. And this is a reflection that I learned in Reddit. I've been experimenting with Reddit for the past few days now, and I realized that you can take a generic type of video, blog, or anything and put it on Reddit, but in the headers, you can put your own opinion on it, and it can garner engagement. Even though if the content that you're sharing is the same, it's a generic content. So I've observed in Reddit, which I really love the most now, is where you can come up with original content from content that's already done. And that's the same thing. You gotta have a unique perspective on a subject matter in order for you to leverage your content marketing. So again, relatable, you got to be knowledgeable, and you have to have a unique perspective. And one more thing I have to, it's one thing that I don't know if you agree with me or not, is that when you are knowledgeable of something, don't come off like an authority figure. I do not know why many people uh, I don't know why many people like to establish themselves as an authority. For me, I have an ick against it, because one is, when you're marketing, when you're building relationships, especially in the marketing space, you don't really want to see yourself in a high pedestal for people to be amazed, because you're setting yourself up to an so high bar that people will look up to you, and their head hurts so bad that they might see you far away. But if you come down and become human in your marketing, that is where you can relate, and that's how you can become friends, and that's how you can engage a listener to become a part of your podcast, become part of your community. So there is that fine line from becoming authority, becoming too much of an authority, and becoming someone who is knowledgeable in something. So you got to find your sweet spot. And for me, if you guys want to do authority type of content, that's up to you. My best advice is, have a way to manage both being an authority and being a friend who can help someone. So I'll move on from that rant. And now, of course, marketing, podcast marketing, it's a long term game. It's not that, boom, you already made a piece of content. Let's say you're a heartbreak podcast, and you already made a piece of content and you expect that content to just go boom. No. There's going to be hits and miss, and that's natural. It's like life itself. You have moments where boom, you have 200, 300 views on one short, and in the same episode you have none. It's because, of course, probably strategy, probably SEO, or probably something that you missed somewhere. But the main point is, do not be discouraged and just keep moving forward. And that is where this is important. You guys have to consider this. You also have to learn how to understand data. Data is very, very important in the marketing space, because data alone can help make or break your podcast. If you do not know how to read data, then it's best to hire someone, a social media manager, so social media marketing guy. But yeah, data is important, and there are two tools that I highly recommend. If you're using Facebook and Instagram, I highly recommend Business Suite, which everybody knows. And if you don't want that stuff, you want to engage everything into one, Hootsuite is the best. And there are other platforms, but these two are the ones that even I wrote that came to my mind. So there's one thing here on my fifth point, is that when it comes to scheduling, having that discipline. This is my fifth point, by the way. When it comes to scheduling content, of course, there some people will say that, why do you need to schedule when in the end of the day someone is going to come in and say, I saw it. What does it matter to me whether I saw it when you posted at 7 rather than at 6? That shows that you are disciplined as a content creator. This is why scheduling is much more easier than making content itself. Because when you schedule stuff, you can eliminate the problem of thinking, oh, when is the best time to post? So let's say if you're in the Philippines and you're scheduling content around 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., you already know the lifestyle of a Philippine audience, where 7 a.m. everybody goes to work, so some of them check their Facebook and all that stuff to just see if their friends are still alive, or their cats are still anything, they check 7 a.m. And then, of course, after the end of the day, after they're coming back from work, 7 p.m. most likely, or 8 p.m., boom, content is there. So that's the importance of scheduling. You have to have that consistency. But if in case you have high volume of content like me most of the time, it's best to split them apart. Ideally, it's best to split them 5 hours apart. The reason why is, this is applicable for all social media platforms, by the way. This is applicable to Facebook alone. Is because if you have high volume, and let's say within 7 days, you have, let's say, 20 pieces of content. Of course, you cannot shove every single piece of reel on Sunday if you're starting your week on Sunday or Monday alone. So you got to split it up. So let's say for my case, I start a 6 a.m. and then I do a 12 p.m. and then I do a 6 p.m. So you see, there's a split difference. And there's nothing much you can do about forcing people to like, whether regardless if they see it or not. It's because you can't control how people view it. Eventually, the only best way to see it is to share it yourself, share it to groups, share it to a community that you know, and just be a part of that conversation. Try to integrate the content as a form of conversation. Again, goes back, unique perspective on how you made your content and why you think that content is there. So, again, discipline, you gotta have saying, and I've already explained why it's a myth. So, those are my 5 tips on how to become a marketing god for your podcast. This is something that I really enjoy and enjoy experimenting with, and there's more to this. That's why this is part of the series, the marketing series, is because there's so much more to open. I would like to open the conversation into Facebook, for example. We'll niche down to Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and all these other good stuff, and I'm just excited. So for now, it's just a beginner guide, and from here on out it's gonna be excited. So I hope you learned a lot from this podcast or this episode. And again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify. Give us a follow because that's what makes us do what we do, me and my team. uh, and yeah, and I'll be leaving a question. Of course, if there's any podcast marketing questions that you have, we will make an episode out of that. So with that in mind, I hope you found this entertaining, educating, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. So cheers, guys. Cheers.